Hello students, today we will be discussing array handling. I have already defined array as a set of elements or variables of homogeneous data type stored in contiguous memory locations. Homogeneous means the elements are of same data type. I will show you the memory representation of arrays after this slide and it will be clear what is meant by contiguous memory locations. Now array handling can be done with the loops or without the loops. So far as loops are concerned, you can use all the three loops available in the C and C++, that is for loop, while loop and do while loop to handle the arrays. But we can also handle the arrays without the loops. And so far as handling without loops is concerned, we can input the array elements individually and then display them individually or use them in the automatic executions. Each element can be accessed individually. By array handling, actually what I mean is inputting the array or displaying the array or using the array elements in some processing, like adding the array elements or sorting the array elements or finding the largest among the array elements, that is comparing the elements, so on and so forth. Let us first see the memory representation of the array. As I told you, before using an array, one has to declare an array, and for declaring an array you have to first give the data type followed by the name and then the size of the array, and then you can give the values to the individual elements. You can initialize the array at the point of declaration. Now in these examples what I am handling, these techniques can be used for integer, float or double arrays. For character arrays, that is arrays with the data type character, they are called as strings, and we will be having separate explanations and understanding regarding the strings. Okay, so the concepts that I am giving right now will be applied to one-dimensional arrays of type integer, float or double. Now I have declared an array whose data type is integer and the name of array is A and 4 is the size of array. That means this array will be having 4 elements or 4 variables, and I am also initializing these variables at the point of declaration, giving the values 2, 3, 1 and 5. Now each element of the array has got a index or subscript through which we identify that element. The first element has the subscript 0 and next element has 1, so on and so forth till we reach the last element. The index of the last element is always size -1. We can also say the index or subscript in terms of element number. It is always element number -1. For example, the third element has the index 3 - 1, that is 2. Now since I have declared an array of 4 elements and the name of the array is A, therefore the first element of array will have the index A of 0 and next element will have A of 1, that is the second element. This is the third element, it has the index 2, and the fourth element has the index 3. That is, the index of the array element is always less than the element number, and this is how we identify each element. As I have already discussed why we need arrays, there were two reasons. First was, when we require suppose 100 variables, we will have to use 100 unique names, but in case of arrays the names are generated automatically and you have to simply give the group name. The index name will be always, the index part of the name will be always given by the element number -1 in the square braces, what we call as a subscript or index of an array. So now, so far as memory representation is concerned, since we have declared an array of type integer and it has got 4 elements and I have given the values also. Note, each integer variable has a size of 2 bytes. So suppose if the first element starts at 101, the next element it will occupy 2 bytes. The first element will occupy 2 bytes and the next element will start after those 2 bytes. That is, if the first element is at address 101 and I have already told one address occupies has a capacity of 1 byte. Therefore, it will actually occupy 2 addresses. We have not written the second address. We have written 101. That is the starting address of an element. This is called as the starting address of the element. So I have written, and this is the starting address of the array itself. That is the first element of the array starts from 101. It occupies 2 locations, 101 and 102. Since it's 2 bytes because they are integer. If it could have been a character variable, then it would have occupied 1 byte only. If it would have been a float, it would have occupied 4 bytes, and in case of double, it would have occupied 8 bytes. Okay. Since I am using an integer data type, therefore it has occupied 2 bytes, and the addresses it has occupied are actually 101 and 102. The next element is immediately after that, that is at the 103 location, and it will also occupy 2 bytes, that is 103 and 104. And after that, the third element occupies 105 and 106 address. Okay, so on and so forth. This is what is meant by contiguous memory locations. That is, if one element is stored at some place in the memory, then the next element will be stored of the same array will be stored immediately after that, and there won't be some other variable in between those variables, in between those 2 elements. So it will be stored in a series. Since once the memory is allocated, the compiler can allocate the memory anywhere. Since it was actually 4 elements, it was 4 integers. These integers could have been allocated at any place in the memory. That is without series. But the important constraint so far as arrays are concerned, that they should be stored as contiguous memory. Why it is like that? Because that way calculating the address of an element will be easier, and this is bit what called higher concept that we can show, we can explain in data structures why it is like that. But you can simply remember that for your level of knowledge right now. Later on I can give the explanation of that the array elements are stored in a sequence, and there is no other thing in between those elements. That is, there is no other variable that is allocated between the array elements of the same array. Okay, they are supposed to be stored in a sequence. Okay, and this was so far as addressing of the elements is concerned. That is why we say that array is a set of elements of homogeneous data type. Since all the elements of A have data type integer stored in contiguous memory locations, that is one after another, and I have shown you diagrammatically how the arrays are stored in memory. This is true of the integer arrays. Since each element of the integer array is 2 bytes, so accordingly I have taken the size, and accordingly I have allocated that many addresses for that element. Now if it is some other data type, it would occupy the memory accordingly. Okay, next. Now the first algorithm that I am going to discuss is how we input an array. I'll be directly going into ID, and I'll be showing you, because this algorithm I'll be using with loops. First I will handle the array without the loops, so that you can understand how we can actually handle the arrays. This is for the understanding part of it, that is handling the arrays without the loops. Now let me declare first the variable x, which is a simple variable and is not an array, and let us scan this variable and print its value. Enter the value of x. So this is how we give a message, and then we can say scanner. First let me input it, scanner, %d, comma, then ampersand x. If you want to display the value of x, it will be like this, the printf the value of x is equal to printf %d. This is how we display the value of x on a user screen. Okay, first we input. In this program, what I am doing, I first give a message, enter the value of x, then I am scanning the value of x from the keyboard, and that is inputting it from the keyboard. I say scanning, and then printf the value of x, and it's again a message that I am displaying. Then I am displaying the value of x now that I have taken from the keyboard. If I give the printf at the top, will be having the junk value, this same printf is. So let me also declare an array int a of say 4 elements. Okay, I am not using the array, but first let us see how we work with the x. That's a simple variable. Okay, so here we can have semicolon. Let us put a semicolon here. Terminator I have forgot. Okay, here now again I compile the program and I go into trace mode. First we enter the value of x. The value of x is initially, see here, it has got a junk value because x is not initialized. Now I input some value of x from the keyboard, say 67. That one is the previous output from some program. Now once I enter the value of x, I'll print the value of x. It has come as 67. Okay, this is how we input the variables. So the way we handle the x, that is a single individual variable of type what you call integer. Same way we can consider each element of an array as an individual variable that can be input from the keyboard, or that can be displayed on the user screen, or that can be used in an expression. Okay, same method, no difference at all. Only thing is that will I be having 4 variables here, and 4 variables will be having 4 different names. What is the difference in the name? The difference in the name is that they have got the same group name, but the difference lies in the index. The index of the first element is 0 and the index of the last element is 3, and this is the array of size 4. So it's important to note that once I declare the array, at that time I'm not giving the index. That is in the declarative statement where I give the data type of array and I say I want an array of a of 4 elements. And this 4 is not index or subscript at that time, it is the size of the array. Okay, you should remember this. Now let me first scan the first element of the array using the same method. Instead of x, I should say a of 0, and in order to display this element, I'll say a of 0. So I am giving the name of a variable, and I can input it from the keyboard. I can display it on the screen. There is no hard and fast rules that I should first input the first element. You can input the second element first. You can input the third element first. But since if we follow the order, that way it becomes easy to remember what element we have input. Now this is simply handling the arrays without the loops. That is, once you want to input the array element from the keyboard, and you can display the value also. This is a simple demo for that. Okay, so first I enter the value of, instead of x I should have given the element, so I say 12. Now after that, then I display the value of a0. Now here you see here, since first I have scanned the a0 from the keyboard and I gave the value 12, you see here a0 has changed. Okay, I should have changed the message also here. It should not be no value of x, it should have been enter the element. I'm sorry for that. So this is after the correction, the value of element. Let me run the program again so that it will be clear now. Now see here, first I say that enter the element, this message comes. Then after that I input the scan it, I say 45. Now you see here a of 0 has changed to 45. The value of element that is displayed on the screen is 45. This is how I input the individual element, and this is how I display the individual elements. Okay, so right now I have inputted one element and I have displayed that element. Now let me input first 4 elements. I'll be using same statements for here, excepting the difference that instead of a0 I will be scanning in the second statement a1. Then in the second statement I can sorry, in the third I can scan the third element, then in the next statement I can scan the fourth element. So I am using 4 scanfs to input the 4 elements, and this is how I input the individual variables also. So you can, what my point here is that you can handle the array elements the way you handle the variables, that is variables which are not arrays. So only you have to remember how to identify that particular element, that is what is the name of a particular element. So name is always a group name, then after that we give a subscript. Subscript of the first element is 0, and the subscript of the last element of this array, which is of size 4, is 3. So I should give here 3, not 4, otherwise it will lead to problems. Okay, so this is the first element I'm scanning, then second element, then third, and then fourth element. Okay, now let me print the array after this. So I print the first element, then I print the second element, then I print the third element. I have to change the index, then I print the fourth element. Okay, this is my first element. Okay, this is my second element, this is my third element, and this is my fourth element. Index of the first element is 0, index of next element is 1, and index of the after next element is 2, and index of the last element is of course 3, that's the fourth element. Now in this program what I am doing, I am inputting an array using a scanf, and I am displaying the array using the printf. Okay, now let me run the program. First I'll scan the first value. I enter the first value as 23. See here, it is 23 now. Then after the second element I enter as 78. See here, this is 78 now, second element has changed. Then I enter third element as 7. See here, again the third element is 7. Now I am inputting the next element from the keyboard, that is suppose value 90. So all the 4 elements have been inputted from the keyboard. This is how we input an array from the keyboard. By inputting an array from a keyboard means inputting all the elements of the array, not a single element. And by displaying an array, what we mean is displaying the contents of all the elements. Okay, then you can see on the screen, see I have got, first I inputted the 4 elements, that is I give the value 23, 78, 7 and 90. Then I displayed the elements in the same sequence, that is 23, 78, 7 and 90. This is how we input an array and how we display an array. That is the first two what you call array handling programs, that is inputting the array and displaying the contents of the array. Now we have a third program that I'll be explaining here, that is finding the sum of the array elements. Once you have inputted the array, you can find the sum also. Now I can say x is equal to a of 0 plus a of 1, that is the contents of these variables, 4 variables, a of 2, then plus a of 3. Okay, so I'm adding the 4 elements now, and I'll display the sum. Okay, printf the sum of elements is equal to, the sum of the elements is stored in x, so I need not to display the entire array now. Now I will display the contents of x. Let me run the program and you will see how this program is to find the sum of array elements. I enter the first element as 67, then I enter next element as 3, then I enter next element as 10, and then I enter next element as 20. So first element I entered as 67, next element as 3, that is 67 plus 3, that is 10. Next element I entered as 10, then 20. So 63 plus 3 is 70, 70 plus 10 is 80, 80 plus 20 is 100. So I will have x. Now x has a value 100. Okay, the sum of elements is displayed as 100. Okay, this is how we do array handling. That is, in this example I have shown how to input an array, entire array, how to display the entire array, and how to find the sum of all the elements of the array. Handling an array means finding the sum, or finding the largest elements in an array, or sorting an array, or searching an element in an array. Now, when we will be inputting the array, whenever we want to use arrays, of course, we should first accept the data from the user, and that is important. Once we accept the values from the user, and then only we can handle them, that is, we can find their sum or whatever operations we want to perform on the elements. That can be done because these elements are nothing but variables, and those values what we have inputted are stored in those variables, and those variables can be used in arithmetic expressions. By variables here I mean the elements of an array. Now after that we can display the array, but it's not necessary that I will always display an array. This depends on my requirements. Suppose I am sorting array of 10 elements. Now I am changing the position of the what you call, I am not actually changing the position of the elements, I am actually sorting the data in the ascending order or descending order. Once I have sorted the array, I need to display this array. So once I display this array, actually in this case I need to display the entire array. Now if I find the sum of elements of an array, I need not to display the entire array. Why? I need to display the sum. So if I'm finding the largest element in an array, I need not to display the entire array. I'll display the element that is the largest. So it depends on my requirements. But these are the generalized programs. That is how we input an array, how we display an array, and how we handle the array elements, or how we do processing of the array elements. These three come under array handling. How we handle the arrays. Handling means now inputting an array, displaying an array, and processing the array. Processing means it can be comparison, it can be adding the array elements, it can be subtraction, so on and so forth. Whatever operations or operators that are available in the C, they can be used on arrays, provided their data type is compatible with those operations, because I have already defined the data type of a variable. That is, it defines the type of values that can be stored in a variable, and type of operations that can be performed in a variable. Now integer arrays, so far as they are concerned, they cannot store decimal values, because this is the limitation of the integers. Okay, so whatever are the limitations of the individual variables, they will apply to the array also. Okay, they will apply to the array elements also. So if array element is an integer, you cannot store decimal values in it. I hope it's clear now. Now if array element is a character variable, you should not do addition on it, or you need not store numbers on it. You will only store characters in it. Okay, so it's like that. That is the individual data type of each element has to that is, each element has to obey the rules of its data type. Okay, the size of the element, the type of operations on the element, or the type of values that can be stored in an element. Okay, and I have also told you how we give the name to the array element, and I have also shown you how we represent the array, or how are the arrays represented in the memory, that is in the contiguous memory locations. Okay, now let us see how we handle the arrays, same array with the loops. Okay, I have already explained what are loops. I'll be first using a for loop to handle an array. Okay, how I input the array elements using a for loop. Okay, I use a for loop for I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 3, I equal to I plus 1. Okay, then I write a scanf inside it. This is how we input an array. Right now I am not writing the entire program. As the program I will explain the logic and the statements. I will modify the program and you will understand. Right now I have written a simple for loop. I have written a scanf in it, and I can now give the index in terms of I. Okay, this is another facility available in C, that we can refer to a element of an array using a variable. instead of constant. When I give the name like this, that is a of 0. This I am simply writing to explain, so that is suppose a of 0. Now I am writing a of I, suppose. What is the meaning of these two? The first thing is that it refers to the first element, because the index of the first element is 0. But what does a of I refer to? A of I refers to that element whose index is given by I. Now, when the index is given by I, it means the value that is stored in I will be used as the index. And if the I changes, the same the reference will be used for the different element. Let me explain it now. How? Let us see this loop first. As I have explained in the for loop, first the initialization takes place. This takes place only once in the life cycle of a loop. Then after that, second step is checking the condition, and if the condition is true, we move into the body of the loop and execute the body. And then the third step is do the incrementation, and the fourth step is check the condition, and then if the condition is true, again execute the body. After that, you have to repeat same sequence of the steps till the condition is true. That is checking the condition, executing the body, and doing the incrementation, then again checking the condition. So this statement in the body will be executed till the condition is true. But this initialization will be done only once. That means I will be first given the initial value of 0. Now I is my loop variable that I have explained in the lecture on the loops. If you don't understand right now what are the loops, you need to see that lecture. Okay, now I mean you need to watch that lecture. Oh, I have to declare I because I am using a symbol before declaring. I am using a variable which I have not declared, and I have already told that you should declare the variable and if you want to use a variable. Now this is the value of I. Okay, let us watch the value of I so that it will be clear. I. Okay, now okay, this is my watch window. Okay, here you see the I initially has a junk value. Now it will be we have entered into the body of we have started executing the for loop. We have not entered the body of the loop. The first step is initialization. Initialization means whatever value I give here to the I, that will be assigned to the I. I am giving the initial value of I as 0. I can assign any value here. It's not necessary I will start with 0, I can start with 1, any value I can give here. That will be the initial value of I. Okay, and then see here, the initial value of I now comes 0. Once the initial value of I comes 0, since we have entered into the body of a loop now, this is an indication that condition is true. Why? You can check yourself. 0 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, 0 is less than 3, so the condition is true. Now body is executed first time. Once the body is executed first time, this scanf %d ampersand a of I, what does it mean? Scanf %d ampersand a, what is the value of I? 0, right? You can see in the watch window, and you have given that value. So it is scanf %d a of 0. That means you are scanning the first value from the keyboard. That is this element, that's the first element. Now see here, if I put this value as 89, you see this value is stored here. The first element has been scanned. This is how I input the array. Now I am inputting the first element. Now I am inputting the second element. Let me put some different value, say 90. Now see here, 90 has been stored. What was the initial value of I? It was 0. Then the condition was true. Then the first scanf was executed. Next, what happened? The value of I was incremented to 2. 2 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, 2 is, sorry, 1. The next, the value of I was incremented from 0 to 1, because 0 plus 1 is 1. Now 1 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, it is less than equal to 3. So second scanf was executed and I gave the value as 90. After that, again the I was incremented. Now to what value I was incremented? It was previously, it was 1. 1 plus 1 is again 2, and so I became 2. Now in this scanf, the same scanf, a different value is of a different element is referred. Initially this scanf was referring to the 0th element. Now this, after that, it referred to the first element, and currently, since the value of I is 2, it is referring to the third element, because the index of, or the subscript of the third element is always 1 less. So I am inputting the third element. I give the third element as 78. Now you see that the third element has also changed. So this scanf is being used to input the different array elements, and the meaning of this scanf changes because of this I. And if you see, remember the programs before this where I gave index as a constant. For the next scanf I had to give a different constant. But here the same scanf can be used to input. Now suppose let me input the fourth element. Suppose I give value as 8. Now see here all the 4 elements have been inputted. What I did here was I run a loop from 0 to 3. So the for what values is this condition true? That is 0, 1, 2 and 3, because 0 is less than or equal to 3, 1 is also less than or equal to 3, 2 is also less than or equal to 3, 3 is also less than or equal to 3. The moment I becomes 4, the loop terminates. But this statement, scanf statement, was executed 4 times, each time with the values of I as. In the first pass the value was 0, in the second pass the value was 1, in the third pass the value was 2, and in the fourth pass the value was 4. So values of I changed for each pass or each iteration of the loop. I have already explained what is a pass or iteration of the loop. That is, the first time the body is executed, we say the first pass. For the first pass the value of I is 0, because the loop has been initialized first, and there is no incrementation in the life cycle of the loop in the first stage itself. In the first stage the initialization is done, then condition is checked. So these are the first 2 steps of the for loop in its life cycle. Next, what happens? The condition is true, then this scanf is executed, value of I happens to be 0. Then after that, what happens in the life cycle? These 2 steps will be repeated again and again till rather 3 steps will be repeated again and again. What are the 3 steps? First is incrementation, then after that condition checked, and if condition checked, body is executed, and if condition is false, control moves out of the loop. Okay, and if the control moves out of the loop, loop is terminated. And if the control remains in the loop, body is again executed, and then again the same thing, that is incrementation, then checking the condition. If condition true, again the same thing, executing the body, incrementing, and then checking the condition. How long? Till the condition is true. Now as you observe in this loop, the condition is true for the values of I like 0, 1, 2 and 3. That is 4 values of I. That means for these 4 values of I, the body will be executed 4 times. So this loop will have 4 passes. Since I have got array of 4 elements, I run a loop from 0 to size minus 1. That is 4 minus 1, that is 3. Why I start my loop from 0? Because the index of the first element is 0. Okay, and this is the simplest way of what you call inputting an array. Same way you can display the array. How? First you input the array. Okay, now I can first I input the array, now I can display the array. How? Same loop you can write, starting from same loop you can write in the main. Now this is the loop, but instead of scanf you will be using printf. Okay, and you have to remove the ampersand from here. So it will display elements in a sequence starting from 0th element, 0, 1, sorry, starting from the first element with the index 0. First element, second element, third element, fourth element. Okay, if you have understood the first loop, second loop will also behave accordingly. Now I can give the message here. Instead I can give the printf enter the element. Okay, and then here I can display the element. I can give the message, because this message should come only once, so I give it outside the loop. Printf the contents of array are. Okay, so here I display the contents of an array. Here I scan my array. Okay, now I can run this program. Now I am running this program. I enter the first element as 12. I enter the second element as 34. I enter the first element, third element 56, and fourth element as 78. Now you can see the output and array. So this is how I input an array from a keyboard and how I display the array. In case of display, you need to first input an array. Otherwise, how will you are not going to display the junk values. I told you, whenever you input an array, that is the valued these are the valid values that you are inputting, and those values only you can display. Okay, so this is how we input an array and how we display an array. Now if I want to find the sum of array elements, what I will do, in that case I need not to print the entire array. I need to first accept the array from the user, then I need to find the sum of array elements. Now you see here what I will do. I'll say sum equal to sum plus a of I. Now see how beautiful is this statement. I'm going to explain it once more. Let me first declare a variable sum. Now I run the program again. I will not explain this part. This I have already explained. That's 12. Then 13, or say 10. Then I can say 5. So the third element is 5, and my fourth element is, suppose I give again as 5. Now these are my four values: 12, 10, 5 and 5. By meaning the program to find the sum of array elements, I need to add all these elements and display the result to the user. This is the program to find the sum of array elements. Now first I inputted an array, and these are my valid values in the array. Now I need to find the sum. How do I find the sum? See here, I will watch. For the sum, okay, you see here the sum initially has got junk value, and this will be fatal for me, okay, because sum plus, that is junk values plus a of I. So what I need to do initially is, this is what happens when we watch. If we don't watch, we would have added and we would have never known the answer. See, I should put sum equal to 0. If I don't put sum as 0, what happens in this statement? Junk value is added to a of I. Then it will give me incorrect answer. I need to start with sum as 0, then add the first element to the sum, and that answer will be stored in the sum itself, and then again I add a new element to the sum. Okay, I need to remove this message here. I don't need it now. Then again print up my sum after this. Now I'm running the program. If you see now, sum is initialized to 0, so junk value won't be added to the first element now, and otherwise it would have led to errors. And I have seen most of the students, they don't initialize their variables, and once they don't initialize their variables, or the junk values are used in the expressions, and they get the incorrect answers. So this way, now I enter the first element as 12. Next element I enter as 8. Okay, next element I enter as, say, 10. Then next element I can enter as 20. This is how I inputted the first, that is I have inputted the array. Now see, 12, 8, 10 and 20. this is stored in my array A. These are actually contents of the 4 variables, but since they have a common group name A, so they are listed in a group. Okay, now next is I find the sum. Now sum is initially 0. Okay, 0 is added to A of I, the value of, in the first pass of the loop, value of I is equal to 0, so I is equal to 0. Now sum plus A of I, that is sum plus A of 0. What is the value of A of 0? That is 12. That is 0 plus 12, and that will be stored in sum. See here, that is 12 now. Now next, what happens to I? I is incremented to value 0 plus 1, that is 1, and 1 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, condition is true. Now I is referring to A of 1, that is the second element. Second element is 8. Already stored, value stored in sum is 12. Now 8 plus 12 will be how much? It will be 20. Okay, 20. Then again I is incremented, because loop's logic I have already explained. Now I becomes equal to 2, that is the third element, and third element 2 is less than or equal to 3. Yes, so third element is 10. So 10 is added to the previous sum, that is 12 plus 8, that was stored in sum, that was 20. Now to this 10 is again added, so it becomes 30. I is incremented to 3. We have reached to the last array of the last element of an array, and third is A of 3, that is the fourth element. Since we had declared an array of 4 elements, we need to add 4 elements only. Okay, then, and that is we need to find sum of 4 elements only, that is A of I. Now A of I is A of 3, that is 20. The previous sum of the previous 3 elements is already stored in the sum, that is 12. First we did 0 plus 12, that was 12. Then we did 12 plus 8, that was 20. And then we did 20 plus 10, that was 30. This took place in the loop, and in the body. In each iteration, value of the next element was added to the sum till the entire sum is found. Now 20 is added to the 30, that is 50. We have found the sum of the elements. The condition becomes false, y I is 4. Condition has become false. We move out of the loop, and we know by using this logic that all the 4 elements have been accessed, their values have been added in the sum, and after that we are going to display the sum. And if you see in the screen, the sum of elements is displayed at 50. This is how we find the sum of array elements. Okay, this is clear. Now we can go back here. This is the first program using the loops. Now how I use the loop. This was input an array. What I did, algorithm was input array. I should have an array, and I should know the size of the array. Then only I can write a loop. Then for I is equal to 0 to size minus 1, we did it from 0 to 3. This is the pseudocode, not the C program, so its language is different. From 0 to 3, and we have stepped I by 1. Okay, then after that we display the value, that is enter the we display the message, enter the element, then we input the array element. This is instead of input we use the scanf, and this is how we input in an array. Then after that I showed you how to display the contents of the array on a what you call user screen. For that again we use the for loop from 0 to 3, and we step it I by 1, and then we instead of display we use the printf element I, that is ith element we printed. I hope this algorithm is clear, because we have already done the program. If I would have explained the algorithm and then go for the program, since it's an array program, we are doing it first time, I thought it better that I will first explain, write the program on the what you call in the IDE, and then show you what to do. Now next I also showed you how to find the sum of the array elements. For that we need an array, and we need its size. Then if we use the variable sum, in which we store the sum of the array elements, we initialize the sum to 0. If we don't initialize it to 0, you saw the consequences of that. So we need to initialize it 0. If we don't initialize it 0, in this statement a junk value will be added to the first element of the array, and that will give the incorrect answer. Then we access the array from I is equal to 0 to size minus 1. Yes, here you have to write step I by 1, and then we found the sum of elements. We did it one by one. Each element was added in each pass. So loop had 4 passes. In the first pass, the first element was added, that is A of 0, to the sum. In the second pass, the second element was added to the previous sum, and the sum kept on accumulating till we accessed all the elements, and we found the sum of array elements. Next, we are going to find largest element in an array. Before this, I'll explaining this algorithm. We'll first explain the logic of the algorithm, what we are supposed to do here. What we are supposed to do, we have to find the largest element in an array. I have taken array of 5 elements here. You can take array of any size. So I have also assumed that following values are already stored in the array, or you have inputted these values from the keyboard or initialized these values to the array. Better is to input the array elements from the keyboard, because once you input the array from a keyboard, you can have a different values each time. If you initialize the values to the array, next time you will have to change the program itself. But if you input it from the keyboard, next time you won't have to change the program. The user can run the same program. Okay, that is the problem with initializing an array, and it does not give that much of flexibility. It will always operate on the fixed values. Now, so it is better that we should input the array from the keyboard. I have also shown you the procedure how to input an array from the keyboard using the loops. Now, I have already declared an array of 5 elements, I assume, and I have already inputted the arrays from the keyboard. And suppose the first element has a value 19, second element has a value 1, and third element has a value 20, so on and so forth, 25 and 3. If I tell you right now which is the largest element in the array, of course you will say 20. That's array number element number 4, that is ARR of 3. This is the fourth element, 1 2 3 4, and this happens to be 25. But what is the logic? That because computer does not have eyes, it has to use the logic to find the element number, and you will be using it will be using comparisons. We also use comparisons. What is the logic? So logic is like this. We assume that the first element is the largest element. So I have not examined the rest of elements. Now suppose there are 1000 elements. I will use the procedure like this. I remember the first element as the largest. I say this is my largest element. Okay. Now I go to the next element. I remember the largest element is 19. Now 19 I compare with 1. My 19 is still larger than 1. So I say largest element till now is 19. I call the largest element till now as current largest element. Till now means till what we have. The procedure that I have explained to you, we have followed this procedure only. That is, we took the first element as the largest element, and then I compare it with the next element. Okay, here I assumed largest is equal to AR of 0. Next I compare AR of 0 with this, that is AR of 1. If AR of 0 is larger than AR of 1, I say my largest element is still AR of 0. Okay, then once I have compared with this, now I go and compare with the next element. I will continue the same process till I find the till I reach the end of the array. Now, what I do here, I again compare 90 with 20. Oh, 20 is larger than 90. So I make my largest element now as ARR of 2. Okay. So my current largest element has changed from 19 to 20. Okay. Then I do the same thing. When do I change the current largest element? Whenever my previous largest element is less than the array element I am comparing. Okay, right now I am comparing with array element third, and I remember that previously my largest element was 19. Once it is like that, the element number third happens to be the largest element now. Now what I do after that, now I say my current largest element is 20. Now next element I go, I go to the next element. So I examine the elements in a sequence. Once I come here, I again, my previous largest element was not now 19, it is now 20, but that is less than this. So I change again my current largest element to 25. Next I go to the next element and I compare it with this. Again 25 is my largest, so my largest does not change. Once I have reached the end of the array, I am sure that I have found the largest element. Okay, this is how we find the largest element. We assume first element is the largest element, compare it with the what you call second element. We'll start the process from the second element. Comparing will be started from second element. We assume first one is the largest, so comparison we are doing from the second element. The index of the first element is 0, the index of the second element is 1. This is important. So we are comparing index wise from I to size minus 1. Okay, then once we find the largest element, we are going to display it. The process is the same. First largest element is ARR of 0. In the second pass, since 19 is still greater than 1, so my largest element does not change in pass 1. In pass second, that is when I compare with this, then largest element does not change still, it is still 20. Now largest element does not change. In the pass second it changes and it becomes 20. Next I compare with 20 now with 25. this again changes, my largest element changes and then now becomes 25. Then I compare 25 with 3, largest element does not change. After using this process, I know my largest element is 25. So in this process, I start from my loop from what you call 1 to 4. Okay, I should not start from 0 because I assume first one is 0. That is by meaning, why should I start a loop from 1? Because I am comparing from element number 2. Element number 2. The first element I am comparing with element number 2. So my comparison starts from here. That's element number 2. So I'll run a loop from this element, not from the 0. Because in array programs, you will be seeing, now in this algorithm, what do? I assume that my first largest element is array of 0. Then I'll run a loop from I to size minus 1. That is from the second element to the last element. Okay. Then in each pass, what I do, I compare my largest with ARR of I. If my largest will be less than ARR of I change my largest to ARR of I. Once I whenever this if will be true for that pass, the value of the largest element will change, and at the end I'm sure that I have found the largest element. Now let us go into the IDE. Now let us write a program to find the largest element in an array. We'll have 5 elements. Okay, so I'll assume the first element, we'll use a variable called largest, and we'll initialize this largest. Before, we need to first enter the elements. We enter the elements of that means we need to enter 5 elements. So we will run a loop from 0 to 4 because we have to scan from 0th element with the index 0 to element with the index 4, since we have got 5 elements, or the size of array is 5. Now next what we do is we assume that first element is the largest, A of 0. We assume this is the largest element of our array. Then we start comparing our arrays elements with the starting from second element, because now our first element is stored in the largest. We start comparing from second element. Okay, now see here, we'll run a loop up to 4 because we have 5 elements, and then what we do, see, the logic of all these programs is same. Logic of the loops is same, because whenever you have to access an array, you will have to use the loops like this only. Since in the first loop we are scanning all the elements, so we start from 0. But here the difference is that I am comparing from second element, so I start my loop from 1 to 4. In this case, I'll be using 4 passes only because I'll be doing 4 comparisons. So if my largest will be now less than A of I, okay. Now for each pass, this A of I is a reference to the different element of an array. Okay, what I do, largest is equal to A of I now. Okay, so I write a terminated here, then I print the value of the largest element of array is. Okay, then I display that element. Okay, now let us go here, and I don't need a X now, I need Alt D. I need to watch now and watch to largest. Okay, then I need to remove this sum also. Now I go to main window. Okay, now after that I compile my program first. My compilation is okay. Now I can run in scan mode. Now first I'll be inputting the array. How many elements? Now see here, I've changed the declaration from 4 to 5. I've changed my array size. So here you have got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 elements of the array. Each element is a variable, and each variable has got its own index. That is the name of a variable is now array name, and the index of that element within the square braces or subscript we also call as index. Okay. Then largest has initially 0 value. That we'll see later how it changes. Then scanning the first element now. See, for accessing an array or scanning, that is inputting an array or displaying an array, you need to run a loop from 0 to size minus 1. This is the rule, because you will be inputting the first element, then second, then third, and the index of the last element will be size minus 1. In this case, size minus 1 is size of the array is 5, so size minus 1 is 4. So I am running a loop from, if I say I run a for loop from 0 to size minus 1, and I step I by 1. Step I by 1 means I am incrementing I by 1. This is the language that was written in the pseudocode. Okay. Now this is the C translation of that algorithm. Okay. That is the C program. Now printf, enter the element, then I scan the first element. Okay. Now this is the first element. I enter the value as 12. Then I enter the next element, that is 5. See, you can check in the watch window. These two have been inputted. Okay. Now I enter the third element. Okay, this is the third element. What is in the next two elements? It's still junk, unless and until I input them. Now I input as 7. Then I input the next element as suppose 12. Now you can just see by looking that the largest element is the third element. Okay, that is value 90. Now I assume first that largest is a of 0. A of 0 has a value of 12. So actually what I'm doing, I'm storing value of 12 in my memory location largest. See here, largest becomes 12. Now I am running a loop from 1 to 4. That means since a of I will vary, I will now vary from 1, 2, 3, 4. When the I becomes 5, the condition becomes false and the control is transferred out of the loop. I have already explained the life cycle of the loop. Okay, for loop. Now initially, now see here, I is 5. This was because of the previous loop. See, the previous loop, that is this loop, the first loop where we scan the element. Again, we can use the same loop variable for two different loops. Okay, provided we don't have nested loops. At that time it will lead to problems. Nested loop means once you have one loop inside another loop. That we will be using for two-dimensional arrays. At that time I'll make it clear why we cannot do like that. Or again, it is according to the requirements of the program or the creativity of the programmer what he will be doing. But normally once we use nested loops, we use two different loop variables, one for the outer loop and one for the inner loop. I have already shown what are nested ifs. Same way we have nested loops. That is once we have one loop inside another loop. Now for the first loop, I was saying that we varied I from 0 to 4. The moment that I became 5, the control was transferred out of the loop. This is so far as the first loop is concerned. This value of 5 is because of that. Okay. Now you can again understand what you mean by initialization. Now I am giving the initial value of this for loop for I as 1. See, this 5 will now change to 1 because once we start a for loop, the first step in the life cycle is that what is the first step? The first step is that we have initialization. So, and that is done only once. So I is equal to 1. This is done only once. And condition is true. After that, what is the second step? The condition is checked. Okay, condition is true. Now if the condition is true, we start executing the body, and that is the first pass of the loop. That is before the first pass of loop, there is the initialization and there is checking of condition. And once we move into the body of loop, what happens? That is this. If the largest is less than a of I. Now this I happens to be a of 1. A of 1 is the index of the next element. Is 12 less than a of 1? That is 5. No, it's not. So this condition is false and this step is not done. I have already explained the conditional statements. So if the condition of the conditional statement is false, the body is skipped. This is simple if statement where it does not have a else. I have already explained, and if you don't understand what is if, and you are watching this lecture first time, you can go back again and watch my lectures on conditional statements, and you will understand what I'm saying. Now if largest is less than a of I, so largest is right now a of 0, that is 12, but I am comparing with this element, that is the second element. A of I is a of 1, that is the second element. Now the condition became condition of the if was false. Now again the incrementation of I took place and the condition was checked, and we are still in the body of loop. See, now I have changed it to 2. Now I am comparing the largest, that is 12, with a of 2, that is the third element, 90. Definitely the condition is now true, so the statement in the if will be executed. Now when this is executed, you see now the 12 will be changed to 90. So this is my largest element now. Now again, after executing the if, again the same steps in the life cycle. The first incrementation, then checking the condition. What has now value of I changed to? It has changed to 3. Okay, 3. Then condition is true. Then but now let us see the condition of what is if statement, whether that is true or not. 90 is now compared with 7. So our current largest element has change it to from 12 to 90 in the previous pass, and it will remain same because 7 is less than 90. When do we exchange? When we get an element that has a larger value than the previous value. Now I has again changed it to 4, that is we are into the fifth element because 4 is now used as an index. Okay, once we use 4, a of 4, that means largest is less than a of 4. No, 90 is greater than a of 4. So what happens? We have found the largest element. Okay, what is our largest element? That is 90. Then we display our largest element, and we'll see on the screen the largest element is 90. This is the program to find the largest element in an array given the array of n elements. Now you can declare the array of any size, not necessarily 5, but the same logic will work. You assume the first element as the largest element, compare the first element, the value stored in the largest variable with the second element. If the second element is larger than the largest, change the largest value, and if it is less than that, don't change the largest value. The largest value is returned, and the current largest value remains the same, and do this process till the end of the array, and you change whenever your current largest is less than the array element you are comparing. At that time you change. That means you reassign the value of the largest as a of I for that particular I, that is for that particular a of I, where a of I is greater than the largest. This is the program regarding the finding the largest element in an array. I hope you have enjoyed this program. Thank you for watching.